We're going to call this meeting into order. We are going to move into our business meeting. If we can start by our saying a pledge. If we all stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we can have a motion to approve the board agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Fraser, if you can call the roll.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Dr. Kopus?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
All right, if I can have a motion for the approval of minutes.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Fraser, if you can call the roll.
Dr. Kopus?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Next section is for city council. I don't see anyone here from city council. Also next on our agenda is our public participation, and I don't see anyone here for public participation. So we'll move over into our next portion of our agenda, which is our superintendent's comments, and we'll have our comments coming from Miss Andrea Blevins.
Thank you, President Matthews. I have a few pieces of information to share this evening. One, as you may or may not know, January is Board Recognition Month. And we couldn't let this meeting pass without taking an opportunity to recognize each of you. We do have a few small tokens of appreciation to give you. The first one is a certificate of gratitude from the Ohio School Board Association, just honoring your service. It is a labor of love, as you know, not always an easy job. The second thing that you'll see that is being distributed, go ahead, Mike, is a card, a jumbo card, if you will. Oh, did I do it in the wrong order? I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Is a jumbo card that has been signed by all of the staff in our district. So we circulated them around. You'll each have one to take with you from our staff, just to say thank you for steering our ship. The last, you're going to get a goodie bag here in 1 second that has a few quick little things in there. One is just a notepad that we have handed out to all of our staff that just talks about Big Blue being on the move, as well as an engraved pen, custom made by Mr. Curtis Blevins at home.
Wow.
Mr. Curtis Blevins. And in that, on that pen, it says something that I really hope for our board and for our district. You've heard many of our buildings always reference, Andrea's always talking about our arrows going in the same direction. Arrows are a very important theme to me.
Sure.
And so on the engraved pen, you have just a pen that says Big Blue, forward together. And I'm hopeful and excited to steer this ship moving forward with you guys together. And then the very last thing there is just a little something sweet from Nothing But Bunt, who just want to say thank you to you for helping drive this district forward.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's very kind.
Very kind.
I love the card.
I do too.
I think when we passed out these cards, they thought, there is no way, but we did. We got it done, even with some snow days. A big shout out to Melissa Fuller to pass these around. Mr. Davidson, you do have one staff member who put a few hearts on yours. We did make sure that one went to just you. Yes, that's why your names are on the outside. So, but just a little something to say thank you and recognize the service that you give.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's real.
The next item this evening is, as I mentioned before, snow days and weather are here upon us. We have started our second semester with a variety of challenges from Mrs. Mother Nature. We want to thank our maintenance and our custodial crew. Without them, we would be days and days off of school. They have spent hours working around the clock, making sure our parking lots and our sidewalks on property are clear so that we can get back to school as soon as possible. But as you know, we often see our coldest and snowiest days in February. And so we really try. We know that for families, it's very hard when plans change. We try to make that decision as early as possible. But I just want to encourage all of our families to make sure you have those backup plans in the case we have to call a 2-hour delay and or a true snow day. The third item I want to share with you this evening, last Friday, it was wonderful to have 4 of our board members who were able to attend. I know, Dr. Kopish, you were sailing somewhere much warmer than we were. But we had an amazing staff showcase that brought our entire 1,200 district staff together under one roof for a day of learning. I do want to give a huge thank you to our instruction team, especially Mrs. Julie Arnold, Mrs. Tricia Smith, Mrs. Alex Sorrentino, for their efforts to put on such a well-organized event. We offered over 100 sessions that day, everything from instructional strategies to wellness. Our theme for this year was Hamilton Can and Hamilton Will. I truly believe we can, we will, and we are. And I have no doubt that this is going to bring us closer to our goal line. You could feel the energy, the pride, and the passion in the room. It remains one of my favorite events. So I just want to thank you for allowing us to put that event on. Even this weekend at Meyer, I had a staff member stop me and say, I'm putting these gummy bears back on the shelf because I took a class about healthy eating. So I told her to get the gummy bears. It was okay. But so just thank you for being a part of that. 2 more quick recognitions. One, we have a group of students that are going to be performing this weekend as part of the OMEA District 13 Honor Choir. And this weekend they'll be performing at Mason High School. They are offering a free concert on Sunday at Mason High School at 4 p.m. But we have a wonderful group of elementary students who will be representing us well. The last piece that I'd like to update is next weekend, we have our Athletic Hall of Fame before we come back together. I just wanted to acknowledge this is our 28th year of inductions into our Hall of Fame, and we have a wonderful, robust group of inductees. They will be honored during the halftime of the boys varsity basketball game against Oak Hills on Friday, January 31st. And then our banquet will be on Saturday, February 1st at the Washington Event Center with social hour beginning at 6 and then the formal program commencing at 7. So just congratulations to all of those inductees. I said it before, I'll say it again. We've got amazing things happening in our district, and I just wanted to share some of those highlights.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Levis. I completely agree. The staff showcase was amazing. The classes were amazing. That keynote speaker was phenomenal. So it was a good time. It was indeed a good time. And thank you for our gifts and our recognition for the board. And, again, thank you to my fellow board members for all you guys do, representing this board and the community and decisions that's made for our staff and students. We definitely greatly appreciate working with you guys. It's been great.
I would just like to echo that. I walked around with Mr. Holbrook, and poked our heads into different meetings, and just the wide variety of activities happening, the professional development and the engagement. It's always cool when they can help each other, and the engagement that I saw was just top notch. And I just want to thank everyone who prepared for that day and all the presenters. I mean, it takes a lot of work. I even heard there was one guy talking about retirement. And he looked like it was right advice. I'm not totally sure, but he was running his own scheme. But that's another story. No, I'm just kidding, Mike. But it was really cool to see that. And I just applaud everybody that's involved with that.
Agree. I think it was cool.
And congrats to the chorus kids, too. So.
I thought it was cool too, seeing a lot of the staff members that were presenting. They were presenting on things that they were interested in and passionate about, books that they have read and stuff. I thought that was very interesting, seeing them present it, and you could tell they were super passionate about it, of still learning about what they do and growing in their current position as teachers, and also teaching, some of the tools that impact them personally that they were able to share. So I just thought that was super cool, getting that insight from them. So it was good stuff, So next on our agenda, we have our policy recommendations, and it'll be our final read, and our first read for our cell phone. Nope.
You'll take separate votes for each of those. Yep.
Oh, yeah, it is recommended for approval of our policies as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
Mr. Fraser, if you can call roll, please.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Dr. Kopas?
Yes.
All right, next on our agenda, we have our first read for our cell phone policy. Do we have any discussion about it?
Yeah.
Motion.
Yeah, make a motion first. Oh, no,
It's-
I'm sorry,
this-
there's no action.
It's a
there's
first
no
read,
action.
First read, that's right,
Yeah,
yeah,
she's
first
right.
read.
discussion only.
Just a quick comment, President Matthews. These are the policies that were presented. One, the student and the staff one, were created through our cell phone committee that presented to us in November. And then the third policy that is just for review tonight, we will put this on at our next meeting on February 13th, is the policy that the board, the board recognize that you want to be models of this particular direction. And so there's language there about a board policy limiting cell phones during meetings.
I did have some questions. Is that okay? Okay. I did notice that just some little things in here that, as in I'm looking at the students, the one for 5136. In the second paragraph, it says the building administrator has discretion about having them on the buses. But in the 2 paragraphs down, it says the discretion of the bus driver, classroom teacher, or coach, sponsor, and advisor. It wasn't clear on who had jurisdiction over the buses.
Over the buses, we are going to defer to, yes, our administrators have to decide whether that universal blanket is allowed, whether they are allowed at all on the buses. The consensus from the committee and from the principals is to allow them. However, that sentence is in there is because our principals aren't on every bus
Sure.
to mandate what that happens. And so that program advisor or the coach is actually the one carrying out that
Okay.
particular
It
piece.
just seemed.
But we can
kind-
look at that,
Maybe
yeah.
look at that. Also, in the following paragraph, it says that under certain circumstances, a student may keep his or her PCD on with prior approval from the principal.
Mm-hmm.
Again, do we have some ideas of what those circumstances might actually be?
Many of the times, those are health-related. So we have students that manage their own sugar levels that are diabetics or for other medical reasons or written into their individual education plans.
Into the IEP, okay. On the next page, that talks about consequences, is this going to, and I apologize, it's been a number of years since I've been dealing with code violations and all those things. Is this a failure to cooperate or a type of code, or we're not writing an additional code line into the discipline properly? So which one does that come under then?
Most likely insubordination is
Insubordination.
where we were going to go, where that goes everything from verbal warning up to detentions, et cetera. What we've talked about, and that's where the committee is going to come back together to design. I don't want it to be a separate line item, but there are pieces as far as if there are so many infractions, I don't want to suspend a kid for having it. We'll make it to that phone needs to stay in a secure location in the office or something so it's not creating a distraction.
Well, and I saw that could be confiscated and
Correct,
held.
correct.
till-
So we'll work with our committee to bring back what those individual
And Mr. Sprague,
consequences.
we actually already have in our code of conduct, because of obviously with cell phones becoming, we have an inappropriate use of electronic communication
Okay,
devices.
so it's already written in
Yeah,
there.
it is
So
already written down.
so students, and they sign off on that at the beginning of the school year, correct? Okay.
Yes. As well as parents do, when they receive their final forms at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Couple other things, I think I'd talk to you privately about it.
Okay.
I did have a question if in the staff personnel communication devices, it doesn't appear that it matches quite the definition in the 51, in the students. And I know that continuity between the 2 policies would make a lot of sense.
One of the reasons, and that came directly from the feedback of our committee, was they use their cell phones for educational reasons quite a bit. So everything from Class Dojo at our elementaries to monitor behavior, all the way up to our secondaries, a program called Minga. And so we really settled on trying to use it for professional reasons. And our administrators will work with staff to understand that. That's kind of our next piece is once we have these policies, is bringing back our committee together to put out the information. I think it's really important to be explicit in
Okay.
what is and isn't,
Yeah.
and so that will come and as
Okay.
we go through. But good question.
I feel like I should bring this up about the policy that we have. I'm looking for it. It's the last page, right?
Board member?
For policy for board members. When we're talking about having a cell phone policy for students, it's based on the need for us to provide a an educational environment that is geared toward learning and for the safety of students. We heard from Mr. Marjoram about how that has decreased inappropriate behaviors in schools. We know that teachers are tired of dealing with these issues of classroom disruptions and stuff like that. When I look at the policy for the teachers, it's the teacher's job to be supervising students and not be messing with the phones and sort of doing that. I don't feel the same way about the board member. And I thought about this. I don't feel the same way. It's, to me, I think we're adults on this board. I think that we say you have to do this as a board. I don't know of any other board that has something like this. I didn't see it anywhere. And I'm not in favor of us saying, well, one board member had a phone out, so you guys, nobody can have a phone out. We're not abusing the thing. It is every individual on the board. It could be misconstrued. Sometimes I sit over here and I'm writing notes or something like that. I might doodle in the corner. So do we take away pads with paper because I'm doodling and I may be off task? It's our responsibility as board members to be engaged, and I don't like the idea of us policing one another to do that sort of thing. I'm just being honest. I don't like being told, because the next thing could be, I know it's stupid. Well, all of us need to wear coats and ties. I don't want to wear a tie. Sorry, Dave. Yeah, but I just don't think this policy for school board members is needed as these are. There's a necessity to this. There's a purpose. The only thing that's purpose is telling each other, well, put your phone down. And I'm be honest with you, I will not be voting for this. I'm just letting the board members know. So I just think that it's a one-off, and I just don't think it's necessary. My opinion.
Do we have any other discussion on our cell phone policy? And thank you, Mrs. Sprague, for sharing. I appreciate it. And all those that shared. No? So we'll move on to our next item on our agenda. Because there's no action, nothing we need. Okay.
No action this evening, correct?
Okay, perfect. And so we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, which is our human resources. And I'll take a motion on that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Oh, you can call the roll, Mr. Frazier.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Dr. Kopus?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes. Our next item is our consent agenda. And I'll take a motion on that.
So moved.
Move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Second that.
Mr. Frazier, if you can call the roll.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Dr. Kopus?
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Sprague?
Yes.
And next, we have our finance agenda, and that'll be Mr. Frazier. It's on you.
Thank you, President Matthews. We have a few items up for your approval this evening. We have the normal treasurer reports. We also have a resolution requesting tax advances from the Butler County Auditor up this evening. This is a resolution that we pass every single year. And what this does is it allows us to ask the auditor for an advance on property taxes that have been collected before they do the final settlement. So we can get a piece of those monies earlier instead of having to wait. And so we do this every single year. We have the approval of a few purchase requisitions. And then we have 13 donation items. And I've got them up on the screen here just because we have so many. A lot of times I will read them if there's a few, but there are quite a few. And just so the folks out there that are are watching can see what those are. And these are also attached to our board agenda, as they always are, but I just wanted to highlight that because we have so many this time, so.
Yep.
But those are my items this evening. I'd like to take any questions if anybody has them, but that's all I got tonight.
Can we make a motion for that? If I could, entertain a motion for, approve our finance agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
Oh, thank you. If Mr. President, you can call the roll.
Dr. Kopus,
Yes.
Mrs. Matthews,
Yes.
Mr. Sprague,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Davidson.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, that is the conclusion of our agenda. Our next meeting will be Thursday, February 13th. It will be here at our 533 Dayton address. And that'll be just, it'll be a business meeting as well. Yep. So that is that. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.